Chapter 19, All Roads Lead to Rome, 2. All roads lead to Rome. Anybody would have heard the saying once in their lives. The saying was coined during ancient Rome, where countless roads were constructed. Road construction was almost an obsession in the Roman Empire. The empire adhered to a strict set of principles in construction. The roads had to be built in a straight line as much as possible. The roads were to be connected, covering all corners of the vast land. As such, they didn't avoid drilling through mountains or building bridges over valleys. In the end, they paved a road that was 52,000 miles in total length. It was long enough to go around the Earth twice with the equator as the center point. That's how important a road is. Do you know what's the biggest factor that affects land value? Lloyd asked. I don't know, Javier replied. Transportation. It's transportation. Lloyd continued to speak while Javier remained silent. Let's say you have a house, and the road to the market from your house is very rough. There are mountains and waters to pass, and you've got a bungee jump to do as well. And every time you try to get out of your house, your body begs you to stay inside. Would you want to live there? I think it would be a great training opportunity. Lloyd was speechless. Hiking and swimming every day would certainly strengthen my endurance. The bungee jump? I do not know what that is, but if it pushes me to my limits, I am sure it would be a boon to my sword training, Javier explained. I'm not talking about sword fanatics like you. I mean normal people. Then that would be a problem. Right? Lloyd beamed. Yes. Now we're talking. The corners of Lloyd's lips rose in satisfaction. It's not just the house. The fiefdom is the same. Care to guess what's the biggest problem with our fiefdom? In the past, you were the problem, Javier answered coldly. I am not sure now. Lloyd cleared his throat. The road. It's the road. The road? Yes. Have you seen any properly paved roads on our fiefdom? No, Javier answered. Right? That's the problem. It was true. Not a single road in the frontier barony was paved. There were only dirt roads that naturally occurred from the bare grass patches on frequented travel routes. Lloyd thought the time had come for things to change. And his goal wasn't just to create conventional roads. His aim was to utilize the roads for a greater goal. But you don't need to know now what I plan on doing. So can you move? I need to do some surveying, Lloyd huffed. When it came to road construction, the end result mattered more than reason. And so, Lloyd believed he should take action rather than explain right now. He waved Javier away. And he studied the topography of the land. Asphalt would be the best option, but it won't happen here. Considering the technology one can utilize, I think Via Appia is the best one we've got. Lloyd recalled the Via Appia he came across when he was in his university. He even presented about it before the class as it was part of the assignment in the course. Via Appia was one of the earliest roads in Rome. It allowed the empire to construct dozens of it afterward. It's also what got the empire to conquer the southern part of the Italian peninsula. What's more is that it still stands strong even today. The road boasted more than 2,300 years of history. And yet, not a single inch needed any renovation. It granted a glimpse into the advancement of civil engineering in ancient Rome. Lloyd intended to build his own Via Appia through the central section of his estate. From here to there. Specifically, it would begin from the Baron's estate to the far eastern mountain, cutting across the fiefdom in a straight line. The road had the potential to become the main road once the fiefdom developed in the future, so the plan was perfect. But for him to achieve it, he needed to survey and design first. First, I need to level up my skills. Lloyd opened his skill window. Ding dong. Loading the skill log. Basic surveying, LV2. Basic design, LV2. Tool artisanship skill, shovel LV1. It's just as I thought. I need to invest more in my surveying and design skills. For the past few months, he had surveyed and designed several heated flooring systems, and those skills improved by 1 point each time. But that wasn't enough for road construction. I can only survey 12 square meters when I use the skill. And for design, it's just 1,331 square meters of volume. This won't be enough. It's too inefficient. Lloyd furrowed his brows. Surely, the design and survey skills were far from enough. A few days ago, he tested out how long his body would hold up before giving away to exhaustion. The result discontented him. Each skill had a limit of 10 uses. After that, he suffered from terrible fatigue and dizziness. Of course, the skill got cancelled on its own as well. And making things worse, he needed almost a full day's worth of recovery to use the skill again. So, in other words, he could merely survey 1,210 square meters of land and 13,310 square meters of volume in a day. That is a problem, considering how far the mountain is from here. I need to hurry if I want to finish construction before the spring monsoon comes. He didn't have much time. But thankfully, he saved up quite a lot of RP. Current RP, 659. He had a lot. My, I feel like I should bow to Sir Newman in gratitude. The duel with Sir Newman made him rich with the RP. People's likability increased by many folds. 20 points each from the Baron and Baroness. 2 points from Javier. 1 from Sir Bayan. And 6 from the people in the fiefdom. Thanks to that, he earned a big sum of 507 RP in a day. But Lloyd didn't splurge the points because he knew that this would come useful someday. With that thought in mind, he had been frugal with his spending up until this moment. And now was the time to use the RP. Let's see. I'll level up each skill to see what happens. Lloyd looked up at one side of the skill window. There was a level up button. He blinked at it twice as if he was clicking a mouse. Ding dong. Log of skills you can level up. Basic Surveying, LV23, required RP, 10. Basic Design, LV23, required RP, 10. Tool Artisanship Skill, Shovel LV1, required RP, 15. I'll start with the Surveying and Design. He chose those two skills. Ding dong. Skill level up. Basic Surveying, LV3. Area that can be measured at once, 144 m². Required RP to level up, 15. Basic Design, LV3. Volume of structure that can be projected at once, 1,728 m². Required RP to level up, 15. Current RP, 639. He noticed a slight increase in his skill level. But Lloyd wasn't happy with them. Might as well go all out while I'm at it. Surveying and designing were the very skills that would put food on the table. Cheaping out on them would only harm him in the long run. He boldly used the rest of RP to level up those skills. The surveying and design skills leveled up on and on. From level 3 to 4. Then level 5 to 6. And at last, his levels reached 10. And when he used the RP just one more time to level up, a message popped up in front of his eyes. Ding dong. Skill class level up. Your skill class has reached intermediate. Skill options have been made available following your change of skill class. Intermediate Surveying, LV1. Area that can be measured at once, 1,600 m². Skill option 1, Land Appraisal. You can appraise the land you measure. Error rate, plus or minus 5%. Skill option 2, Underground Scanning. You can automatically scan the measured geography as deep as 16 feet. Geographical composition, soil quality, bedrock, underground water, reserved resources, etc., can be identified. Required RP to level up, 100. Your skill class has reached intermediate. Skill options have been made available following your change of skill class. Intermediate Design, LV1. Volume of structure that can be projected at once, 64,000 cubic meters. Skill option 1, Plan Print. You can accurately print out your design on a designated surface such as paper. Skill option 2, Floor Plan Indication, 2D. you can see the 2D floor plan of your designed output in the actual land. Note, only you can see it. Required RP to level up, 100. Current RP, 119. Oh, my gosh. This is amazing. Lloyd's eyes widened as he processed the changes. He had invested quite a lot of RP, but that barely mattered to him. The potential surveying area and design volume significantly increased. But there is something even more amazing than that. Lloyd gazed at the skill options that were made available as the level of his basic skills went over 10. These options were seriously incredible. Land appraisal? Now that I can see the current price of land, this is no different from a real estate app. An underground scanning? For real? Lloyd decided to test them out. He looked at the ground and activated his intermediate level skills. Measure. Crackle. A hazy ray of blue light filled his eyes. At the same time, the landscape changed in front of his eyes. And his eyes scanned the square area of 130 feet in length and width. Several data points about the area popped up. First was the estimated price. Whoa. I had no idea our fiefdom was so worthless. The area Lloyd was scanning was a fairly developed one in the fiefdom, with several stores and bars lined up on both sides. The place was a metropolis in its own way. But for about 3 square meters, the selling price hardly reached 1 piece of gold. TSK. I guess I should work harder to bump up the price. That was when it really dawned on Lloyd how rural and small the Frontier barony was. But that was all to change down the road. The land value would naturally go up if he kept improving the fiefdom. Lloyd turned to focus on other information collected with the surveying skill. It was the product of his underground scanning. Hey, this is way more useful than I expected. It was just as said in the skill description. He could see 16 feet underground. He saw the way the tree roots spread under the ground and how the water flowed beneath. What's more, he even saw rabbit burrows intermittently dug here and there. Lloyd unconsciously took a gulp. This is glorious. Up until today, the survey skill only rendered him information about the ground surface. What was beneath the land could be known only after the earth was excavated. But that hassle had been resolved in one swoop. It's going to be super helpful when I'm laying the ground for any construction work. Laying the ground was absolutely crucial in construction. In particular, its importance was amplified when the construction scale got bigger. For example, if the construction workers did a poor job of laying the foundation of bridges or dams, the consequences were obvious. Whatever was constructed would tilt to one side, or its foundation would crack and crumble in no time. And finally, the entire construction would collapse. In some cases, the construction companies had to demolish the structure before the disaster unfolded. It didn't matter how much money was used up to that point. The spending only doubled from there to tear everything down to avoid further damage. But that could be prevented by scanning the ground right from the beginning. The period of construction would lessen significantly as well. He would be able to inspect the groundwork in real time, shortening the construction period by many folds. And he'd be able to save up money just as much. And this design skill option is really something too. Lloyd looked at the 2 options in the design skill. Printing out the plan and seeing the floor plan. He wanted to put them to use, but Javier was right beside him. He could mindlessly use his design skill, but that would seriously get Javier to mistake him for a human printer. I'll use the design when I'm alone. First up, surveying. Crackle. Since that day, Lloyd engrossed himself in surveying the land during the day. He calculated the area of the road and surveyed the road. Over the next few days, he synthesized the data points he collected. And he used the design skill with the gathered data. So during the day, he surveyed the land, while at night, he focused on the design. Each night, he rushed to put Javier to sleep. A plastic limit, PL, is defined as the percentage of water content when kneaded soil is rolled into a thread of 3.2 mm, 1/8, in diameter. The PL is soil, blah blah blah, and it's the same case when the liquid limit is determined, blah blah blah, in case the cylindrical cone with the weight of 240 g is used, the moisture content that responds to the entrance of cone that is the size of D equals 20 mm is, blah blah blah. Snore. When Javier drowsed off, Lloyd could activate his design skills as much as he wanted. He designed the route and the cross-sectional diagram of the roads based on the information he gathered from surveying. And he printed out the floor plans as quietly as possible to not wake his sleeping friend Javier. Beep beep. He tested it out and printed on the paper just the way he designed it. Wow. It works. It really works. Up until today, he had to directly draw the floor plans he had designed by hand. It was unpleasant and tedious work. The accuracy went down a bit too. But now, things were breezy and convenient. The plan got printed out like he was using a printer. The power of the skill options didn't stop there. Hey, Javier. Do you see that? Excuse me? What do you mean? One morning a few days later, Lloyd tested the design skill as he stood in the construction area. He pointed to the area that would be turned into a road as he looked at Javier. There. Don't you see the lines drawn all over the ground? Lloyd asked. I don't see them. But. Javier muttered. But. I am a bit worried about your eyes and mental health. Javier's gaze was filled with concern. Are you saying that I'm seeing things? Yes, Javier answered. Mwahaha. I see. Lloyd let out a wicked laugh. It was just as he expected. He had come out here the night before to draw the 2D floor plan on several areas of the land. But it was visible only to him and no one else. Everything set. I can do it. His surveying and design skills had improved much more than he anticipated. Thanks to that, the preparation finished in a breeze. Now, it was time to dive into full-scale construction work.